It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan. This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
What's up, NHRA fans? Welcome back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. I'm your podcast host, Joe Castello, and you are literally seconds away from hearing historic John Force audio following his victory out at the Magic Dry Northwest Nationals. Just an epic moment, and you are going to get put right in the middle of it. We are also going to hear from Austin Prock following his first win in Top Fuel. Austin going to be on the show. We're going to catch up with Matt Hartford, who is on the cover of NHRA National Dragster, goes out there, gets it done in the final round against Greg Anderson, and prevents the Western Swing Sweep. All of that is happening. NHRA National Dragster editor Phil Burgess going to be on the show, give his thoughts as someone who has been at the most recent and first ever John Force win. And, of course, the NHRA's Alan Reinhart will be joining us on the show. But we're going to play the John Force audio first. Now, if you're new to the podcast, we would hope you would subscribe, check out the show. More and more podcasts coming online. We would love a spot in your podcast listening. We cover NHRA drag racing, but we also do some entertainment shows here, like Ignition. And we do have great sponsors, like the folks at Magic Dry. Supported the event, support Scott Palmer, support us. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The Dragster Adventure is something you can go on and drive a dragster. You can get your license. Check them out at frankhawley.com. Rodak's coffeeandgrills.com. We're talking about Marvin Rodak in Fort Worth, Texas. Gourmet coffee, fresh per your order. Not to mention barbecues and spice rubs, an amazing thing. Check them out at rodakscoffeeandgrills.com. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Factory Stock Showdown, Factory Stock Podcast. We do another podcast for those guys. Great stuff. If you want to become a machinist, if you want to become a high-performance engine builder, go to samtech.edu. If you want to learn motorsport EFI tuning, go to samtech.edu today. HusseyPerformance.net, copper head gaskets, Hankstafers, metalworking lubricants. Of course, Drag Racing Edge Magazine, EV3 Drag Racing for your mobile device. Now, John Force, Ron Capps, final round. We're all on the starting line, and I'm thinking of the significance of the moment. This is it. John Force has got a real big shot. Ron Capps, as good a final round as it can be. Tobler versus Karate. Amazing stuff. I'm thinking, is this going to be it? I don't know, and I just enjoyed the moment. Cars go down the track. John Force wins the race. Chaos ensues. Bedlam. And all the associated things that happened afterwards, following, leading up to this interview we're about to play. Was John on Fox, the emotional, over-the-top interview at the top end of the racetrack? He went to the TV compound. He got on his hands and knees and did I Am Not Worthy for Austin Prock. And, of course, he climbed the fence, hurdled the fence, rolled over and fell over the fence, and then went up into the stands and enjoyed with the fans. So many different angles about this. And we're going to discuss a bunch of them. But first, let's hear it. John Force. We're joined in the media center by John Force, who just won his 150th NHRA national event win, picks up the win over Ron Capps. John, you've been pressing for this moment. What were you just about to tell us?
It's been 25 races, Denver last year, so I give credit to a lot of crew chiefs over the year. I came here the first time with Steve Kluger, and a great chassis builder, tuner. I came here with Austin Coyle and then with Bernie Federle. I say the greatest crew chiefs in the world, and I said it on TV. They got most of those, but so many other crew chiefs, But Karate and Daniel Hood and Fabrizi, they led the charge, and they've had to put up with me all year. Not happy with the way the car steered, how I sat in it. Not happy with so many things. And then I got the monkey on my back. And I know I finally said it. I know I tell you it don't bother me, but it drives you nuts. You go to bed every night. And then I said, where's the monkey? The monkey taught me so much that the pressure is focus on your car if you want to do good. And John Force does, and he runs around and he sells sponsors. I'm just doing stuff all the time, and I don't even know my car. And, Karate said, and so did Coyle, you've got to get to know your car. You got to live it. You got to love it. You got to study the drivers. Oh, yeah, I do all that. I wasn't. So sometimes you need a slap in the face. And that was the monkey that made me focus, you know what I mean, to live my car. And I've been living it here probably in the last 4 or 5 races. If you noticed, it's popping up fast. I mean, we found something real critical. And Robert Hyde has stood by me through everything. He just amazes me. When a lot of people said it's over for John Force, give me a good race car I can race. I may not be as young as these kids and a hot shot on that tree, you know what I mean, like some of these young guys, you know what I mean? But I'm excited, and Prock wins right in front of me, right behind me, and I went to the stands. I screwed up their parade, but I owed to get to the fans. I never made it at Topeka. I was hurt, went over the fence, my leg went out. So I went over the fence this time, and they were dragging me over. And I just wanted to get there to tell them I loved them, and then I about tipped over. So, hey, great race car. I think I moved into second in the points. But the future of our sport, there's so much potential out here. All we got to do is find money. All we got to do is find how to get corporate America right, and that is it just changed in the way they look at it. NASCAR, IndyCar, everywhere. And I'm going to find a way, because my grandkids were out here, was part of that, and Autumn and Jacob, and my daughter Ashley, and Brittany, and Courtney, and just, and Autumn, and actually, they're just so much a part of my life, and I didn't want to go out here. And I got 3 years left in the contract, so you're stuck with me.
Questions for members of the media for John Force.
Who are you more excited for you or for Austin?
I'm excited for me to get rid of the pain, but Montana Brand came in with Prudhomme, took a chance with us, and I think that really, when you switch crew chiefs and you put in Mike Green, you put a load on him and Ronnie Thompson, but they stayed with it. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't say, gee, that guy's faster, I'm going to go after him. He plays the game how he knows, like a lot like Karate, like Austin Coyle. Jimmy, he rips their hearts out. He's fearless, but that's the way he races. And they all get it done. So Robert's in the lead with Auto Club. So look, at the end of the day, I was running Peak Lighting, one of our new companies O'World has bought. Just I'm glad it's over, but I'm going to race, but I can calm down now and not live with that thinking you'd never get it. One thing I didn't do, I didn't yell out Petty, I'm coming after 200, because I never raced Petty. So no more jokes. I'm going to come race my car, and I've only got a few years left. I want to enjoy it. I want to have fun, and when you can't win, I've been trained to win. And it's just not fun. And then the budgets get crazy, the road gets tougher, but you guys are still here writing stories. I got old Cats. I love him. I tried to hire him here years ago, and I hope I didn't embarrass him. I'm the guy that kissed him. He did not kiss me, but I just sometimes I just love him, and I know he wanted to beat me. He was giving it all he had, and I just grabbed him and kissed him because he's the real deal. He's a real great racer, and today luck was with me, and I got the win, and so anyway, and I know if I kiss Ron Katz, I might get my picture in the paper.
You might get arrested too.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Seattle has been such a part of the romance of drag racing for you. You go way back with Seattle. How special is it to get that race right here?
Well, I've crashed here so many times. I've won so many races here, 7 or 8, I don't even know. And yet I love that I raced up here with Bill Donor. I was doing a show with him and Beckman and Caps, 64 funny cars. I mean, I couldn't beat nobody. I couldn't even do a burnout without running out of fuel or oil. And I just fell in love with it. I tell my wife, not because I won the race, but I said, there's certain tracks I'm really happy at. You know what I mean? I love Indy. Pomona is a work job for me, so many family members. But I always love Seattle. I love Vegas, and I don't party in Vegas. But I had to stop drinking with my head injuries. I haven't had a drop now. It's been over a year. So, and I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm starting to come around. You know, I've had some problems, and I have to wear special glasses because my eyes are bad. But I got no complaints. I'm 70 years old. I'm going to do it because I love the fans, and God will tell me when it's time. You'll know when your old body says you're done, you're done. But I need to build new stars. I need to build Brittany. Robert's already there. Brittany's a champion, but she's got so much to learn. And I've got to build Prock, and he's good. I know he had a little hiccup there, but all day long he was killing him. So anyway, but he's young and he's strong. I don't have that strength anymore. You know what I mean? No matter how hard you try, you don't have that fire. And I get it in my head, but it's hard to get it to make your legs do what you want to do like these young kids. But I'm giving it all I got, and I got to win, 150.
That having all been said, John, you said second in the points. You've got this milestone. It's out of the way. It's off the desk. 150 wins. A big relief for you. And all the while, been working to get the car better, as you said, changing the brake, changing everything. And now here we are, Brainerd, the U.S. Nationals, and the NHRA Countdown. Can you give this thing a ride here in 2019? Do you feel like you've got it all?
Yeah. Robert is killer on the lights. They all are. Everybody can beat me. That ain't no secret. I have to fudge and cheat and go deep and all that stuff. But sometimes it's only a little, but it might be enough when they're running side by side. So I can do that, and that's what I've got to do. I don't want to screw with anybody. You know, I do what I do. I make up my mind, and some days I go complete different direction. And some days I just screw up like not having brakes and stuff. The last couple of races, well, they found out it really wasn't a brake problem. They found it in the clutch can. The clutch was driving me, but them guys are good. They found it, but boy, we carried it for 4 or 5 races, and the clutch cam was flexing, the parts inside. They fixed it. Karate found it at Sonoma, and one race. It turned us around. That don't mean you're going to win a championship. Might be screwed up next week. But I'm in the hunt, and that's all I ever wanted to do was be in the hunt. I'm not trying to kid nobody. You know what I mean? I really love it. I love watching these cars, and I told myself, if you get beat, go over and give Ron a hug. He was the first one over to me to congratulate me. You know what I mean? That's the kind of guy he is. And there's some J.R. Todd, another one. Just the best guy, personality. Never mad. You know, you think he's going to get mad, and then he just laughs. You know what I mean? And I just love all these kids. So, hey, enough of me. Let's go to work.
Go get your pictures taken. One more question.
You worked so hard for your first win 32 years ago. Did you ever think you'd get 50, let alone 150?
No, never thought I'd be lucky if I got 5. What I'm saying is, I remember going to 9 finals, and somebody said, hey, is this like when you won your first championship or your first final round? It was 9, and you lost. And I said, don't put that in my head. It's too crowded in there, too many beer cans in there. I said, I don't even want to think about it. I had to stay away from it because you don't think it till after a while you see a guy down there walking away with a sign and you realize you're making NHRA fly here. You're making everybody go the extra effort. TV setting up complete shows around me, and then I fail again. But I wasn't failing. I was doing the best I could. But failure is part of it, and that's what I told Brittany. Until you can learn to get that gut ache and turn it into a positive. That's the key. Okay?
All right, John, thank you very much. Congratulations. 150, John Force.
Amen, brother.
And just like that, there he goes, John Force, American motorsports icon for the ages. The Mario Andretti's, the Richard Petty's, 150 NHRA national event wins. Amazing stuff. And we're going to tackle a lot of the different angles later on in the show, certainly with our guest, Phil Burgess, editor of NHRA National Dragster. Of course, Austin Prock going to be on the show. Going to talk about getting up on that rear wing. Like, was that planned? Come on, man. Did you practice that? Did you get on that wing ever before? Also, Matt Hartford, he's on the cover of NHRA National Dragster, won his way on the show. We're going to go behind the scenes. We've been producing these social media pieces where I did something with the clutch and put a valve spring on his car. We got a new one coming out, and he wins the race, so he is on the show. That's all coming up, plus my time at the tail end of the show. Let's get into it. He usually leads off the show. He is certainly this week's first live guest. Joining us now, he called the action out there at the Magic Dry Northwest Nationals, John Force's 150th NHRA National event win. It's absolute history for our sport. He joins us now, Alan Reinhart. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. You said John Force's 100. Did that really happen? I really wasn't paying attention most of the day. I was just kind of, meandering through it in a daze.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of one of those, just another event on the tour, right? Everyone is just like the next, and they're all really the same. No, this one was special. We had Austin Prock's first victory. We had John climbing the fence. Totally epic moment in drag racing history. And, Matt Hartford, can't discount Matt Hartford taking away Greg Anderson's opportunity to do the Western sweep.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those. They're going to be talking about Seattle 19 for years. It wasn't Phoenix 92, but there'll never be another one of those. But it was just one of those races, as you mentioned, everything one after another. Can you top this? Can you do better than that? What's more special than this? And it just seemed to keep happening and keep happening.
So let's dive right into it. John Force. We're trying to connect with John, obviously. John is very busy, a lot going on. If we don't catch him this week, we'll get him next week. We definitely will have Austin Prock and Matt Hartford, but I have a feeling we are going to get John. And when was your first John Force victory? Let's start out there. Let's personalize it a little bit with Alan Reinhart. We're going to have Phil Burgess later on. He was there for John Force's first victory. So what about you? When was your first experience being at the track when John Force won a race?
Well, my first experience being at the track when John Force won a race was before I was working. When I was going out, as a spectator, or the first couple of years that I worked the Phoenix National event after Firebird International Raceway at the time, now Wild Horse Open, I was literally working down the starting line. Like I was working in the water box or doing a job like that. And that's the first time I actually saw John win. The first time I was part of it as part of the announcing staff, I couldn't tell you what race it was, but it would have been 1992.
Wow. Amazing stuff. So John's still very early in his career and dominance, and Austin Coyle, of course. And now to think we're in 2019, and John has broken through for that 150. This was a long road to get here. And I can't help but think, and, there are people that hold grudges. I don't hold grudges, but I remember there were people trying to run him out of the sport 2 years ago, Alan, like get him out of here. When he was having trouble keeping it straight in the lights. It turned out he did have some problems. He got some special glasses. They worked on the car. They did some things. And this guy's going straight down the racetrack and gets a huge milestone victory.
Yeah, and, I never took much of that, this guy can't drive anymore stuff seriously. There was a lot of stuff going on at that time with the cars and with some various other stuff that John was having to deal with. And he just took a little more time than some of the guys did to adjust. I think, you see, it's interesting to me to watch the younger drivers coming in now over the course of the last, let's call it 10 years, maybe 8 years. And it's the video game generation where they can just adapt to anything, forever and ever. They've been doing all this stuff with their thumbs and with their hands and, anything. Okay, here's a new rule. No problem. Here we go. Versus some of the older school guys that have been doing it this way for 20 or 25 or 30 or however many years, and it just takes a little longer, I believe, to make the adjustment. But the whole run John out of the sport thing, I don't think that was. I never took any of that seriously. There was, okay, yeah, he got over the center line a couple of times, and but I never looked at him and thought he's completely not in control of his race car.
Oh, I agree. I never felt that way either. However, I did hear a lot of people saying a lot of stuff. And I'm just, listen, hey, people then could have had an opinion. They could have changed their mind now. I'm sure he, so much water over the bridge. But it still happened. And we would have been deprived of this great moment where John is now back and, in my opinion, in legitimate contention for the championship. Yes, he's not the favorite to win the championship. Robert Hight is the favorite, and there's some really other good cars out there. But John has got a car. He's going rounds every race. That 389 first round was a big eye-opener. He's in the mix, which is all he says he wants to be.
Yeah, he's had a strong car all year. There's already been, some chatter online about, okay, well, now that he's got 150, 17 championship, mark it down. It's a foregone conclusion. I don't have that much confidence in him. He's got a great race car. He has had all year long. You don't get to be second in points without having a great race car all year long, even though he hadn't won. I think he's I'm just glad to get that monkey off his back, if you will. And it's funny, I went down, I spoke to Brian Karate and Danny Hood, both in the winner's circle, and then I went by and saw John one-on-one when he was back near the hauler, long after the day was over with, and said the same thing. It's like, thank God that's behind us. Now we can go back to just racing. And they all went, oh, man, if one more person asked, when are you going to do? And they're just so glad they don't have to deal with that anymore, and they go back and focus. I think they need to show that they can do it again. I think they've certainly got the car and the team, and they're capable, but that one's behind them. I think John's confidence is back. I think that's good. The rest of the team, I think, always had confidence. So they're going to be contenders, but I'm not ready to give them the crown just yet.
Anytime you're up against a milestone, we saw it with Fletcher, we saw it with Rampy, we've seen it with Force. Things just become so much harder. It magnifies everything. We saw it with the Patriots trying to go perfect. It's just something about the way we cover sports and the way things happen within sports that when you push up against this barrier, it's going to push back. And I think that's what we saw. I agree. The monkey off his back. So good for the sport. He's now achieved this milestone. If John Force were to retire tomorrow, which we do not want him to retire tomorrow, but 16 championships, 150 wins, huge numbers, round numbers, like if Richard Petty had finished with 199 wins, it's very different than 200. It's just like running 8000 is much different than running 799.9 for whatever reason, as crazy as it is. And so this, I think, absolutely puts John in, not that it makes that big of a difference, but it does make a difference when years go by, people look back, 150, an unbelievable number.
I agree with most of what you said. I think that that I don't believe milestones push back. I think when you start pushing for one, it just gets you out of your comfort zone. When the next one's 100, it's like, okay, this is 100, this is 100, this is 100. Nobody thinks that way when the next one's 97 or 98. And I think that you just start doing things differently. I've seen it even in local sports. I played a lot of competitive softball when I was younger, and you see it quite a bit, even still in Major League Baseball, when a guy needs a hit, and starts pressing. And then once you get, whatever the milestone is, if it's 40 home runs in a season, if it's something, once you get that over with, you stop going up to the plate thinking, okay, this is it. This is the time. You just start going back up there, relax and doing your job, and then it becomes much more naturally. And I really think that's more of a mental thing than a cosmic thing.
Absolutely. And yet, it had happened so much. It is fun to watch, and John got through it. And we'll talk about the round by round starting now, where Jim Campbell and John Forrest, John, that 89 first round, really setting the tone for the day. We knew he had a good car, but Brian Karate and those guys had been working on some things, and John told us in the media center that they found something in the clutch that had been the source of his staging problems in addition to the push brake. And so he was able to kind of sort that out. But anyway, you run a 389 first round, good chance you're going to win the race.
Well, I like the way that he did it also. All four of his opponents were touring regular professional cars. And I don't mean that to demean anybody that's not, but as well as I do that, there's a couple of cars out there that, let's just say, aren't a championship threat in their current state. But when you look at, he beat Jim Dunn's car first round, and Jim Dunn has said for years, he may not have much of a budget, but when it comes time to race John Force, he's got $1 million budget because he puts all of his best stuff on the car. He just wants to beat that guy. And then second round, he's got to run Robert, and they're absolutely positively running heads up. And then he's got to beat two Don Schumacher cars, including Ron Capps in the final. There was no walkovers there. There was, the road to that win was certainly not an easy one, and I think that makes it a little extra special also. If you beat those 4 cars, you damn sure should get a trophy, whether it's 150 or not.
The Robert Hight win, though, Robert has been the bane of his existence this year. He could have 3-4 wins this year, if not for Robert Hight. There have been weekends that he, especially early on in the season, where he was cruising. He had the second best car, goes up against Robert. Robert beats him. Why? Robert is the best, right? He's amazing. Leaves on John, outruns John, and John is great in defeat. Just, sorry about your luck. You had to run me. When he got through Robert with that 90 in the second round, I thought, all right, here we go.
I did too, and it was interesting watching too. I pay a lot of attention to staging and what happens, and John was very careful staging on both the 89 and the 90, and that's a big reason that those numbers came up on the scoreboard. And then he came up in the semifinals and rolled it in pretty good and went 401, which, at least in theory, could have cost him lane choice for the final round. As it turned out, it wasn't a big deal at all because Ron Tobler liked the left lane and Brian Karate liked the right lane, so everybody got to be where they wanted to be. But I just found it very interesting that he didn't go deep against Campbell. He didn't go deep against Robert, but then he comes up in the semis against Jack, and he chunked her in there pretty good. So, and then in the final, he staged it pretty heads up. So, I don't know if he just maybe slipped that one round or what it was, but definitely the first 2 rounds, he looked like he was staging the car like the crew chief wants it, not like the owner wants it.
There you have it. And the victory is in the books. John Force, Ron Capps. The celebration, epic. There's a little
top-end interview was one for the ages as well. We'll wait and see if we hear anything back on that.
Well, exactly, and that's the only, a little controversial. Some people are like, oh, my God, why did he have to use that language? And here's where I come down on it. Listen, raw, uncontrolled emotion is what we're dealing with at that moment right there. Raw, uncontrolled emotion. And yes, obviously, if you're going to cover a sport and you're going to put somebody in front of it and it's raw, uncontrolled emotion, sometimes you're going to get something like that, and we got it. I really hope nothing negative comes out of that because it was what we always want and ask for, the purest of emotion coming out of John.
Yep. Well, I guess time will tell if there's any repercussions.
Exactly. And then he, but the social media types out there, lay off the dude. And then the jump over the fence, my goodness, was it, Tony Stewart or Elio Castroneves climbing the fence? Not so much, but he made it. He made it over and he goes up into the crowd and he celebrates with the crowd. And to me, that is a perfect example of the kind of things we need. A racer who decided, man, I got to be up there with my people. And he went right up there.
Yeah. That was as much relief, talked about getting the thing out of the way. So nobody will be asking about it anymore. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You can go back to just worrying about your regular business. So it was certainly a big deal for him. And I think he just wanted to go up there. And that's, if nothing else, that's a place where he can go escape. That buys him a couple of minutes where somebody's not tugging on his sleeve to, hey, talk to this guy, take this picture, do this interview. And he literally can go up there and just hang out with the fans for a few minutes and catch his breath, which is pretty much what he did. And then after that, came down and he went into the TV studio, and had a very emotional moment with Tony Pedregon, talking about, all that they'd been through together and back in the day. And, told Tony, he was a big part of that. So, when you were here and we were winning regularly and we had all this stuff going on, we were experimenting and, you were a big part of my success. And he basically wanted to go in and thank him for his contribution to the 150, which John certainly feels like is substantial.
Absolutely. No, a lot of emotion. Hopefully everybody got to see and experience and feels great about it. He kissed Ron Capps. I don't know how much Capps liked that, but he just so much great stuff happening. John Force picking up win number 150. Of course, we're going to try to track him down. We'll definitely hear from him on WFO Radio as soon as is possible. Simple as that. The other side of the story, first John Force Racing double that did not include Robert Hight and Brittany Force. It's Austin Prock and John Force. Austin gets win number 1, and honestly, probably just as emotional. Climbs up on the top wing, beats Steve Torrence in the final round. So the historic line of this is going to be great, that he went out and beat the current champ, the guy that nobody can beat. And very cool to see Austin break through and get his first win on this same weekend.
The thing that I thought was amazing, and it wasn't just Austin, but Matt Hartford as well. Can you think of 2 other scenarios where they wouldn't have been just completely overshadowed by John Force's 150th win. 10 years from now, people will be going, oh, that was the day John Force won 150. Did they even run Top Fuel that week? And 10 years from now, they're going to be saying, not only was that the day, but it was also the day. And even Matt Hartford, the Pro Stock story with him stopping Greg, the way it happened in the final round, I don't think if Greg would have swept, it would be as big a deal as Matt Hartford stopping him when it comes to, can you compete with the John Force 150 story? If Steve Torrence wins the race, completely overshadowed by John Force's win, and if Greg Anderson wins the race, yes, the sweep is a big deal, and that would have certainly carried some momentum and some spark with it. But I really think Matt Hartford is an even bigger story, and I think you needed that if you wanted to get out from under the shadow of John Force's 150.
No, I agree. Hartford, the timing of it all, if you love Pro Stock, which we do, the timing of it all, he is on the cover of NHRA National Dragster, a fantastic cover, photo shoot, introducing him as a person to this world of drag racing fans that, however many go to the NHRA National Dragster. He's been knocking on the door for a victory and goes out there, makes 2 final rounds in the Western Swing, loses to Greg in the first, beats Greg in the second of the 2, almost crashes the car out there at Sonoma, things people may not recall, but a big reintroduction to Matt Hartford and making the most of the opportunity when the spotlight was on him at the brightest possible, goes out there and wins the race on a hole shot.
Yeah, I agree. And, talk to him about it up on the stage in the winner's circle. He was the victim in Denver. And did that make it even sweeter to be the guy who stopped the swing at the last possible moment? The final round in Seattle was it. And he said, absolutely. He said, the Denver final was a great race. The 2 cars left within a couple of thousandths of a second of each other. If I remember right, it was, 32-34, 28-30, something on a reaction timer. They were both right there. And then Greg's car was just that much quicker. And this time Matt went up there and it's like, look, I've got to do my job. He felt like Greg had the better car, and lane choice for the Pro Stock cars, the left lane certainly looked like it was more forgiving. You could win out of the right lane. We saw people do it. You could make good runs out of the right lane, but the right lane certainly looked a little bit more finicky for Pro Stock cars. And certainly that's where Matt knew he was going to be in the final round. So he goes up there with the mindset, I got to do my job on the tree and then just see, because he really felt like Greg had the car to beat. And Greg left the door open a little bit with a reaction time that was not awful, but not stellar. And Matt was able to take advantage of it. But I think, like I said, I honestly think that that's a bigger story than if Greg had swept the swing as far as getting out from under the 150 shadow.
It's very interesting. It's definitely debatable, and we can kick it around. But in the end, Matt Hartford's the guy who's going to be on the show. Hey, let's dial in on the Steve Torrence Austin Prock final round, because it was bizarre. And we're going to talk with Austin about it. But, a 138 reaction time to a 275 reaction time, smoke off the Capco car, and now 2 races in a row. They haven't won, Alan. Oh, my goodness, what's wrong with the Capco team, right? They haven't won 2 races in a row with Steve Torrence. But honestly, though, just kind of some weirdness in the final round on the starting line. Austin said he didn't release the clutch and basically had to dump the clutch and swap feet on the starting line. I don't know what Steve had to do, but it was unusual regardless.
Well, Steve double bulbed him, and my thought, and I haven't spoken to Steve about it, but I really think that, Steve at that moment in time figured that he needed to do something because it looked like Austin had the better car. Steve, smoked the tires and semis, got away with it. Lost lane choice going into the final, and again, you could win out of both lanes, but there's still the mental aspect of, this guy made a better run than I did last time. And I think Steve went up there and went, okay, here's a rookie kid. Let's see if I can rattle him a little bit, and went in and double bulb. And that certainly threw Austin off. And by the time he kind of got his head wrapped around the thing, and it's interesting because, he says he basically swapped feet. You really don't swap feet in a Top Fuel car. You can have your foot on the clutch if you want to, but when you hit the gas, your foot's coming off the clutch, whether you want it to or not. And it certainly changes the application because the clutch is supposed to be dragging when you hit the gas. And if you got your foot on it, it's not. It's a little bit more like popping the clutch, but you don't voluntarily take your foot off the clutch when you stand on the gas in a Top Fuel car. That pedal's coming backwards, whether you want it to or not. But it certainly, it went cleanly down the racetrack, which was a little bit of a surprise. I think maybe even to Austin after he got screwed up on the starting line. And when Steve got out there and smoked the tires, he drove by, and that was that.
And that was that. Well, exactly. And it doesn't matter how you win them. It's just that you win them. And he did. He got his first win. Very cool. All right, so, takeaways following the Western Swing. Steve Torrence, the Capco team, still dominant. They did not sweep the swing. They did, it was okay. It was a good swing, couple of final rounds, and the Billy Torrence win. A win, the final round, and the Billy Torrence win. But, I don't know that we saw a chink in their armor, honestly. As much as they didn't continue to go to final rounds and just dominate everybody, I still think that they're the powerhouse team that we know them to be.
I think they are too, but what I'm going to be watching going forward is if they continue to get the intimidation wins, because I think what was seen out there is that if you stay in your comfort zone, that they are and have made a mistake from time to time, but they've been getting away with it. They've been winning those intimidation rounds. They certainly forced Sean Reed and the Bob Vandergrift team into pressing harder than they would normally, and so when they both smoked the tires, they got away with that. If Sean Reed is racing anybody that's not Steve Torrence, then I fully believe they go up there a little bit more conservative, and the car goes down the racetrack. But they went up there and smoked the tires and let them get away with it. So we'll see going forward. But I think that some of the mindset of the other teams may have changed a little bit. Like, look, instead of we've got to hit a home run to beat these guys, let's go make a run and see what happens. And that's, I think, is a much better winning strategy from a percentage standpoint.
Absolutely. With Brainerd right before Indy, that is still a big question mark. Like, which team has what it takes to rival Capco for a championship? Funny Car, on the other hand, we've got 6 drivers that have qualified for the countdown already, and I think that is clearly wide open. As much as Robert Hight is definitely the favorite in the points leader, you got to mention John, you got to mention Tasca, you got to mention Caps, you got to mention Tommy Johnson Jr., and even Matt Hagan and Dickie Venables are, in the conversation. And I haven't even mentioned the reigning champ, J.R. Todd, who they feel like they've got some things going on. So point is, like, Funny Car, wide open, Top Fuel, less wide open.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, Funny Car is going to come down to who gets hot at the right time of the season, and Top Fuel is going to come down to did Capco boys cool off. I think that's about the determining factor there.
Yes, and then Pro Stock. Pro Stock has been the healthiest category, and that's something that people are talking about in the the pit area a little bit. Pro Stock people in particular, given that a couple of years ago, we had some short fields and people were annoyed. The 18 race schedule, like it or don't like it or whatever it is, we have had full fields and we have had interesting racing. And it's been cool. Bo Butner, Greg Anderson, Alex Laughlin, Matt Hartford, Derek Kramer has had a really quick and fast machine. Jeg Coughlin, bad luck for Jeg, but otherwise they had a car that could win this weekend. It's been very fun to watch what's going on in Pro Stock.
I think we've seen that anybody that's getting power from Elite, from KB, or from Chris McGahey is a contender. And, Greg had obviously the best Western swing with 3 final rounds and 2 wins. But, any of those cars is capable of winning at any moment. And whoever gets on the roll or whatever they do when they get into the countdown is going to have a legitimate shot at it. Bo earlier in the year wasn't dominating everybody with performance, but he was good. He was solid. The brakes were going his way, and you saw what he did with it. So, whoever that person ends up being when we get into the countdown is going to be the champion.
Absolutely. Top Alcohol Dragster with Sean Cowie. Chris Marshall goes back-to-back in his Alcohol Funny Car. That was a huge victory. Brian Hierstay wins 3 in a row out there in Seattle in Comp Eliminator. Kyle Rizzoli goes back-to-back Sonoma and Seattle in Superstock. Andy Morrison, Stock Eliminator. Randy Beck winning Super Comp 2 out of 3 years. Mike Dalrymple in Super Gas. Matt Keelman in Super Street. That awesome flat black street Nova. Exactly what a Super Street car should be, not a street roadster. Doug Bracey, Top Sportsman. Jeff Havens, Top Dragster. Doug Vansel and Top Fuel Harley. Got to mention Bo Lane. Bo Lane, wow, hard hit against the wall, but didn't break anything and posted positive messages on his Facebook page. That gives, hope we'll see him back.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it'll be before we'll see him back, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be back on the bike at some point. If there's anybody that didn't see it, it doesn't take too much effort to find it online. It's on NHRA's Facebook page. But when you cross the finish line at 250 miles an hour and then turn right, hit the wall, come off a motorcycle, and then stand up when it's all over with, let me tell you, I ain't messing with that guy. He obviously is tough enough that he's got a little recovery to go through, but he'll be back. And as you mentioned, he's updating the fans on his Facebook page. You can get it right straight from him.
Yes, great stuff. And just like that, the Western Swing in the rearview mirror. Next up, Brainerd and the Zoo, the Lucas Oil Nationals, and then the big go. The U.S. Nationals is upon us. I am super excited for it, Alan. It's been a great season, and thank you for starting us off right on WFO.
Always a pleasure, Joe. I'm looking forward to getting rested up and then headed for the zoo in a couple of weeks. I actually had something planned for this weekend that came apart, so I'm going to be able to spend the weekend at home and maybe catch up on a couple of my projects around here. Hopefully I get my suitcase handle fixed. I got to get that back together.
Yeah, man. You got to get a guy with a machine shop. Right, exactly. You got to do some work on your luggage. Exactly. Alan, thank you so much.
All right, Joe. We'll talk soon.
There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio Podcast. Now, we've got Austin Prock, we have got Matt Hartford, we have got Phil Burgess for more perspective, and then my time at the tail end of the show. I'll just give you some thoughts and stories and things that went down out there on the starting line and at the track. Whole lot of fun. Don't forget our Ignition show, by the way. This is a very serious show, John Force, milestones and stuff. But there's a whole lot that goes on in the world of motorsports. We like to just kick it around very lightly. Sports Collision, all kinds of good stuff going on. But right now I want to tell you about Magic Dry. It was the Magic Dry Northwest Nationals. I said Magic Dry thousands and thousands of times. And every time I said it, I thought to myself, this is a great product. And these people do a great job. And they're on the board with Scott Palmer. They certainly help out WFO Radio and others. But really putting on an event, I think they did a great job. Hopefully they gave out lots of samples, and certainly I missed the customer race. That was a bit of a bummer. But the bottom line is this. 5-gallon, 10-gallon, 20-gallon, 50-gallon. If you have a spill, big or small, home or industrial, they've got a way to clean it up. They've got these spill kits, 833-221-2257. Give them a call or go to the website. They are the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association. It is much lighter to carry around. I learned that this weekend, something new. How about this? Transporting Magic Dry is way easier because it is made out of coconut. There is an added value if you've got to carry multi-purpose absorbent over the road in trailers, say, it is a much better option. How about that? MagicDryUS.com. Check it out. When we come back, it'll be Austin Prock after this.
This is WFO Radio.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman.
Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine. published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to the NHRA Nitro podcast. It was such a great event out there in Seattle. First of all, the whole Western swing, Denver, Sonoma, Seattle, is awesome. And if you're a race fan that did all three or does all three, you are onto something. Of course, it would take some time and a lot of money to go do that, but what a fun swing through the country. And of course, Seattle, those people are there to party. They're having a good time. It was really cool. The weather was really nice. Everybody was rocking their WFO Radio T-shirts that they bought at the Nitro Fish trailer. Several people came up to me and told me they purchased the shirt, and it's available at the Nitro Fish trailer or nitrofish.com, by the way, for those of you that want it. But it was just super cool. But hey, we've got the winners. We've got Matt Hartford, and we've got Austin Prock coming up. Plus, Phil Burgess, going to talk about all of it. But right now, I got to tell you about samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Each week, we say start your education at full speed. samtech.edu. But I want to change the conversation a little bit. Where else are you going to learn? What are you going to learn? What are you going to do? What are you going to be? When you go to work, what's the purpose and what's the point? Those are big questions, and it's a very challenging thing for a lot of people to answer. And I can tell you that the people that I see out at these racetracks and working in a profession where they're using their minds and their hands to make things of significance, whether it be a high-performance engine or programming a CNC machine or working at Boeing, building an airplane. Something to be prideful of, right? Like you matter, it makes a difference. Good gig, can't send it away. Or certainly should never. I think the folks at Samtech are onto something. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, cylinder head programs, CNC machining programs, or motorsport EFI calibration courses, the idea that they're going to put you in a situation where you're going to meet the people who may hire you drives it home. And we see that because on the Sandfield Racing Engines team, they've got graduates. David Barton's got graduates everywhere. Samtech.edu. They've been named a School of Excellence. They have financial aid there. They honor the GI Bill. If this is an area of interest, you certainly should call them. 713-683-3817. That's the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. And by the way, you should be subscribed to the Factory Stock Podcast. Factory Stock, 32-car fields, Indy, coming up, samtech.edu. All right, let's keep going with Top Fuel and dive right back in. Joining us now, he is the Top Fuel winner out there at the Magic Dry Northwest Nationals. It is his first career Top Fuel win, and he does it on the same weekend John Force gets his 150th. Austin Prock joins us now. Austin, you did it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I still can't believe it. This whole team, Montana brand team, is on Cloud 9, and we're actually in Montana right now. We had an appearance at Rocky Mountain Twist headquarters scheduled for today, and, nothing better than to bring them a Wally.
That is great timing. They took a shot on you, and for you to be able to show up, deliver the Wally to the headquarters, and all, the people who work hard, and I understand that company is kind of oil field services, correct me if I'm wrong, but the bottom line is that you're showing up victoriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it couldn't be better timing, and I know all the employees, and Mick Sheff, he's the head honcho there. They're all excited about it, and, just excited to see the race car, and we'll let them hoist that Wally up for us.
Absolutely. All right, we got to talk round by round. We got to do a debrief on what went down, because I think it is so cool. This is a major milestone. You've broken through 108 different winners in Top Fuel, but my first thing is, Snake. Did you talk to him? What did he say? Because this validated his effort.
Yeah, Snake, he's been he's been wanting us to win since we rolled out of this deal. He's one of the most winningest drivers in NHRA history and just a legend of the sport, and that's what he expects us to be. His standards are set high, and he's been gunning for us to get him a win for, the whole year now. I just got off the phone with him. He's in Sturgis. He was watching all weekend, watching it on the NHRA Live, and Lewis Bloom was shooting him text, and he can't believe it. He's just so ecstatic.
Oh, that is tremendous. All right, let's do your round by round. That's always fun to do. And, first of all, walk me through qualifying. And did you feel like this was the weekend? You had an extremely tough draw with Leah Pritchett. She out-qualified you by, a little bit. You were 12th overall. She was 5th overall. We were working on doing that marquee matchup deal, but we had to cut it due to late racing on Sunday morning. But we were thinking, like, man, this kid keeps ending up in really tough races. Tell me about getting ready for race day and that round one matchup against Leah.
Yeah, we had a consistent car all weekend. Obviously, it wasn't where we wanted it to be. Mike Green said that in his interviews. They said, "Man, you got a consistent race car." He said, "Yeah, consistently slow." We were trying to run a lot harder than we were, and we just couldn't make it happen. And we made some changes on Friday night, and the changes that we made on Saturday, it helped, but it hurt the clutch system. So we just had to kind of balance all that out. And waking up Sunday morning, I just knew it was going to be a good day. Everyone was gelling well. Mike Green was cracking jokes. He was having fun. Ronnie Thompson, we were all just having fun together. And, the race car knows when the mojo's right. And we had to go up there and, Leah Pritchett, they can throw down over there. We had to race them the past 2 weekends in first round. And, last weekend we both made really good runs. And this weekend we both made really good runs. And I know I had to go out there and do my job. And, that's all I can do. I got to go up there, make sure I leave first, and give us a shot at getting the win.
And you certainly did. You left first and won just a brutally close race. And, yeah, I got the opportunity to speak with Mike a few times. And he was cracking jokes, and he was in a good mood. And it was weird because, like toil and struggle, but in a fun and funny way. You could see he was like fighting it, sorting through it, but starting to win, which was that was what was interesting about this given weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. When it's your day, it's your day. We definitely didn't have any easy matchups on Sunday. It's a shame that Clay's parachute fell out. I would have liked to drag him to the finish line, but that's just how it rolls sometimes.
0:37 reaction time, though. You said you got all of that. I want to know about that. 0:37, that's Antron Brown at his best territory. You said you got all of it. Is that what we can expect out of Austin Prock in critical situations?
I'd hope so. I went up there and, like I said, you're going up there and you're trying to win these rounds. You got to go up there and just kill it. And, I was amped up and I was ready to go. And, hitting my practice tree all morning, just trying to get stoked up. Lots of caffeine. And, when the car's running good, your heart rate's going. Man, I was shaking all day long. I bet my heart rate was 130, from start to finish. And just being amped up and ready to go, it helps. It gets you in those situations where you can cut a 30 or 40 light, and that's what you got to do to beat these guys.
So, yeah, no easy races. First round, Leah. Second round, Clay. Clay's chute comes out, you win regardless. Semifinals now, you got to go up against Mike Salinas, which means you have to go up against Alan Johnson. And so you're rolling to the starting line thinking what about the performance of your car and what you need to do on the starting line?
I knew they were going to give me a good car, but I also knew Alan Johnson, he's had the best car all weekend, in my opinion. He was throwing down 374 when the track was, 120, and that's stout. So I knew I had to go up there and do my job. And, I wanted to beat those guys all year long. I worked with Alan last year. I worked with that whole team. I love all of them. I'm great friends with them, but, I was really gunning for them and really wanted to kick their butt. So, went up there, 040 on the tree. Mike Green gave me a good enough car, and, we gapped him pretty good on a hole shot.
That's that big hole shot win that you wanted, where the driver makes the difference. In drag racing, sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's just the team. Sometimes the driver saves it and wins on a pedal job. In this case, driver reaction time, 0:47, whole shot victory, 380 beats at 377. And that's all Austin Prock right there. You know, of course, the team got the car down the racetrack. You know what I mean, though, and that has to feel great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was stout. I was amped up. Obviously, you know, every driver out here, you want to outdrive everyone. You know, it gets you up, it gets you going, and, you know, it also gets the crew and the crew chiefs fired up. You know, when they can believe in their driver and, you know, rely on them sometimes, like, you know, maybe we can't run this hard, you know, this lane's not as good, but if we run this and, you know, our driver can go up there and do his job and cut an 040 light, we can get the round win. And it just gives everyone confidence out here. And I love that I can be that driver.
Now you're going to the final round. You're going to be running Steve Torrance and the Capco team. Capco boys are the best out there the past 2 years, total dynasty. Everybody wants to be the guy to be the one that goes out and beats them and contends with them. And we as NHRA has been pushing, you know, you and Jordan and the next generation and who's going to rival. This is your chance, right? So before the final round, I wonder, you know, does your dad come over? Who comes over? What kind of talk is there as you guys are getting ready for this final round? That, you know, it's going to be epic, whatever happens. Tell me about, like, the pre-race discussions, hype. What was that about?
You know, we honestly, we got back to the pit and we did our same job. Nobody said anything. Nobody was nervous. Nobody was, you know, we were obviously excited we were going to the final round, but we had one more job to do, you know, and all day we were doing our job good enough to win. So got back to the pit, same job. You know, right before we went up there, Ronnie Thompson pulled me aside and he's like, hey, like, love your work, kid. Just do what you do. There's no reason for you to go up there and get all fired up or anything like that, because when you go up there and you're cool, calm, and collected, you're 030, 040. So he's like, don't sweat it. And to be honest, I wasn't nervous. You know, I wanted to race Steve Torrance in my first final round, and I wanted to be the kid to stop that Capco train, and the dream came true. Obviously, the final round was a little bit of a shit show. You know, watching Force in front of me, he gets his 150th. All of John Force Racing has been wanting to see that all year long. And that got me, you know, emotionally a little messed up. You know, I was in there, I was excited for him, you know, and that's what I really wanted, was to see John Force get his 150th. And I realized, hey, bud, you got to go win this sucker now too. So calm down. And, you know, I felt like I got calmed down, but, you know, the champ, he schooled me up there. He double balled me and my brain went blank. And I actually ended up swapping feet on the starting line. I thought I was in a pro stock, and that's why I was so late.
Wow. Yeah. Let's dig down on that, because to me, moments like this are what, you know, drag racing is all about. Here you are, you've thought about it, the first final, you got your wish, but, you know, all kinds of other things are pulling at you, right? Of course you want to win, but there's John. John's on the mic, he's screaming, he's going crazy. You got a shot at the first double that doesn't involve Robert and Brittany for John Force Racing, which is really cool. And now you got to pull yourself together. Over there in the other lane is this veteran who is the best of the best right now. And he makes a move on you. You know, you go pre, he goes double. And explain to the audience what you should have done versus what you did do.
You know, I honestly, as bad as it looked up there, I don't think it was as bad as it really was, because even Steve, he pulled me aside after that. He went up there. Neither of us would pre-stage, you know, because we both were going to play games on each other, because we knew we had to leave first, you know, and he was 040 in second round, and I was 030, 040 the 2 rounds prior. And, you know, we had to be amped up and try and get that edge. And neither of us would pre-stage. I finally go in. He double bulbs me. He expects me to sit there, you know, and hold him out for 7 seconds. So he didn't have his fuel on. He didn't have his clutch out. Well, I went right in, and I didn't have my clutch pedal out, and it was just a recipe for disaster. But it ended up, you know, kind of working out, because he was all flustered. He was 138. I was 270. And, you know, he got out there, and it got out of the groove and spun the tires. And, you know, luckily Mike Green and Ronnie Thompson gave me a car to go A to B.
And you flew on by, and that feeling of, like, He's out there. I know you guys can think paragraphs and paragraphs in fractions of seconds. And so you had to be thinking, oh, my gosh, it's going terribly wrong. He's out there. I'm losing. Oh, wait, he's smoking the tires. Now I'm winning and I won. Like, that moment has to be so incredible for you.
It was unbelievable. I mean, I saw his wheelie bar before I left the starting line. It was pretty atrocious. But I saw him get out there, and as soon as my rear tires passed the tree, his car stopped, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And it just smoked right down there, right down the groove, and looked over and saw that wind light come on when I pulled the parachutes, and I just couldn't believe it. I was yelling in the car. I got down there, and before I was even off the racetrack, I was unbuckled out of the car, looking back on the starting line, trying to see the guys go wild, and it's just a dream come true. I turned the corner down there and hop out, did my little wing dance, and get down, and there they are with the trophy. Like, I completely forgot about the trophy and the medal and the hat. They have that all sitting there, and my jaw dropped. It was just something I'll never forget. A feeling that's one for a lifetime.
The sprint car world, getting up on the wing. If you're in a winged sprint car, it's like, cool, but it's bigger and wider and lower than a Top Fuel wing. And you're up there, and I'm thinking, this is the coolest, except I'm scared for you, man, because that is a long fall. How did you get up there, obviously? Had you practiced that? You can be honest. Like, have you stood on the wing in the past before? And
No.
Iconic photo, man. That was great.
Yeah, to be honest, before I ever even knew I was going to drive a Top Fuel car, ever since I was little, I was like, if I ever win a Top Fuel dragster race, I'm getting on that wing. And I've always had that in the back of my mind. Never have I practiced it. I've thought about it, but never did. I was like, if you ever win, you just got to get up there and do it. And tell you what, man, it's pretty sketchy up there. That wing, how high is that wing? 8 feet in the air, and then you add me, I'm 5'10". It's quite a ways up. I was shaking up there. I thought I was going to go bailing off the thing, but I think even if I fell off the wing, it would have looked more graceful than Force falling over the fence.
No doubt about that. Now you've won, you're a Top Fuel winner. The emotion is happening. There are interviews and television, but there's the John Force factor, right? Your first win, same race, John's 150th win. I know that this has been a stress on every single person, right? We all wanted it. You guys have been working for it, and now it's here, and you're celebrating with John Force, and just like try to bring me through. Your dad and your mom are there celebrating for you. There's just so many cross currents of emotion going on at this period.
Yeah, it couldn't have worked out any better. 150 and 1, you got the legend and you got the rookie driver that he took a shot on, and to both get that milestone win for both of us at the same time, that's just a story you can't make up. You can't write that stuff, and just blessed to be a part of it. Force, he's the greatest in the business. 150 wins, that's unbelievable. And for him to come out here and pick me to drive his race car and get my first on the same day he gets his 150th, that's just God working his magic right there. It was a day I'll never forget, and I was proud of Force, and I know he was proud of me. When I got up on the stage to get interviewed with Alan Reinhart, Force got down on his knees and he was bowing to me, and not very many people can say that.
I can't think of too many or any, if that is the case. Yeah, I had a great view for that watching in the media center. All right, let's dial in on your family, though. Your grandfather had some, 4 final rounds, came up short, I think, to Snake a couple times. You broke through for the Prock family,
time.
Right? Every time. So how funny are all those crazy connections, right? Like your dad was 0 for 4 against Snake in finals. You are kind of helped out by Snake, and you get the first win for the Prock family in Nitro as a driver.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's been a long time coming. Our family's been at this since, racing since the 30s and 40s, and, it's 2019 now, and just to get the first national event win as a driver for the Prock family, that's something special, and hopefully we can get a handful more.
What about Dad and Mom? I spoke with your dad on the starting line. I looked at him, shook his hand, and I said, well, glad that's over. And it was like a weight came off his shoulders, and he just started to laugh. And it's like he changed from, working crew chief to happy dad in that moment. When you got to, when it's all over, celebration, whatever you guys did you get a moment with your dad and your mom to just, realize what this all means?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just blessed to be able to race with my family out here. That's something special. And I was talking to one of my buddies earlier today, and there's nothing better than a victorious hug with your dad after you do something great. And, I'm glad I got to share that with him. And my mom, she was ecstatic. She said that this was one of the best things that's ever happened to her in her life. And, that's something special. When you can make your parents proud, it really weighs on your heart, and you just feel accomplished. And that's how I felt last Sunday and even today. I think that's going to be something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
Any congratulations coming to you from outside the drag racing world?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Snake, he's been hanging out with Rusty Wallace in Sturgis, and Rusty sent me a cool video congratulating me. He said he was watching all day and cheering me on, and that's something special. Tony Stewart reached out to me, and I had about 300 text messages on my phone. It took me about 5 hours to go through, and I made sure I responded to every single one of them. That means a lot to me that all those people are out there supporting me and cheering me on. It's something special about the racing world in general.
Absolutely. But look at it this way now. Let's change perspective. You've moved up in the point standings. You were on that precarious 10th position. Now you've moved up to 9th and put a little bit of a gap between yourself, Terry McMillan, and Scott Palmer. Also Billy Torrance, who is very tough back there. So that is good news. And you've got this out of the way, so to speak. You've learned to win, right? Isn't that how it goes? You got to learn to win. Now you know to win. You know what to do. You've been there. All that is different, and we've seen it thousands of times in various forms of racing. And so now you're getting ready for the U.S. Nationals and the countdown after Brainerd. Does this give you new confidence for this countdown, and do you feel like this is a team that can get into that countdown and maybe make a little noise?
Oh, absolutely. They always say the first win's the hardest one to get. And once you get that monkey off your back, you can just start rolling them off. And I feel like we're really hitting our strides. I've been confident all year long, even though, we may have not been running how we want to. You got to stay confident. You got to stay positive because that's the only way you're going to get better. When you have a Debbie Downer, or you get that sour attitude, you're not going to go anywhere. You got to keep making those steps forward. And I think we're doing that right now. To get that win, that gives everyone a lot of confidence. Obviously, we got to get the car running better, and everybody knows that. Mike Green and Ronnie Thompson, just because we won doesn't mean we're just going to let her alone and just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep trying to progress, and I think we can get up to 7th in the countdown or better. Depending on how our run in Indy goes with double points. I think we're only 30 some points out of 7th right now, and that's very feasible. We could get that done in Brainerd if our cards fall right. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we can make some noise, and I think everyone out there knows we're here.
That is a fact. It was a great weekend, a whole lot of fun, good for the sport of drag racing, good for your team and John Force Racing, and I know a lot of people are watching on Fox. Austin, congratulations. Have a good time up there at the headquarters of Rocky Mountain Twist. Thanks to them for supporting you. The story of this season has been amazing so far, and I know it's just getting going. Congratulations on your very first NHRA Mellow Yellow Series win.
Thank you, Joe. It's a dream come true. I'm glad I finally got to call you back.
Exactly. The Introduce Austin Prock interview, not nearly as cool as the Austin Prock first win interview, and I'm sure there'll be many more down the road. Thank you for making the time. I know you're busy. I really appreciate it, and I'm real happy for you.
Yep, no problem. I'll give you a call anytime I can.
There you go. Have fun today, Austin. Enjoy it. We'll see you out there in Brainerd in a couple of weeks. Obviously, congratulations to the whole family. You did a great job, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Thanks, Austin. Austin Prock with us here on WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro podcast. Subscribe at Apple Podcasts and be ready to subscribe to some cool new stuff coming soon. Very much appreciate all that. I'm happy he didn't go up and practice being up on the wing. number one. Just truly genuine. 2, the Capco boys are still the total 100% favorite, odds on, to win it all. Are they working on stuff? Steve got a little screwed up. Who knows? But this is a feel-good story. John Force Racing fans have got a great feel-good story. In many ways, the passing of the baton from one to the other. John's not going to be around forever. John has said he's got a couple more years left. This is the kid. He's running in Top Fuel right now. But when John leaves, this is the kid. Do you like him? Is he cool? Can you root for him? When we look at NASCAR and what happened after Jeff Gordon left and after Tony Stewart left and after Dale Jr. left, there really wasn't an heir apparent there to really accept the fandom of the driver that left. John Force is doing it the right way. He handpicked someone that he knows, likes, and trusts, Jimmy Prock's son, Austin, who is a wheelman. And they're racing together for a while. And you understand the connection, and you can root for both. And when John decides to retire, whenever it is, you'll know Austin Prock. I think it's working great. I think it's a great strategy. They're doing a great job. And for this win to happen this way, it's perfect. Perfect. John running around like a madman. Austin enjoying it. He was super emotional in the media center as well. Just a different kind of interview. But very good stuff. Thanks to Austin for coming on the show. Very excited to see what they can do in the countdown and just be a personality, somebody else for people to root for and like. Or like to see get beat because he is a talker. Austin Prock is a talker. When Austin Prock wins a race, he's not going to talk smack in this race. It's too emotional. Let him win 2 in a row. Let him win a couple races here or there. Let Mike Green figure something out. We have the potential there for a big star. That is great stuff. Now, Matt Hartford coming up. Phil Burgess coming up. Now I want to tell you about RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. In its simplest form, amazing next-level experience when it comes to your coffee and your barbecue stuff. Simple as that. If those are 2 games you're trying to raise, then you want to listen to this. Here's the number, 817-924-6821. You should already be interested. The morning coffee. You know it starts your day off right. You check out all these companies and multinational corporations. They clearly have got it figured out. How about some coffee that's roasted, fresh per your order, by a drag racer, certainly someone who appreciates it, has created these blends that are drag racing themed. The WFO Radio blend, the Schumacher Champion blend, the Scott Palmer Capco Final Round blend, Bang the Blower, all those things, they're great, they're fantastic. Roasted fresh per your order. Plus he's got exotic coffees that you can't get. Simple as that. Check them out. Give them a call. 817-924-6821. Hot sauces and spice rubs and recipes and methods and barbecues. Give Marvin a shout. 817-924-6821. That's RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. We'll be back with Matt Hartford after this.
It ain't just wide open. It's WFO.
Hussey Performance copper head gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors, Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically, less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292. 292 Hussey Performance copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radial. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine. Hankstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hankstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series, sportsman racers in the Racing RV's Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hankstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hankstafers.com to find out more information. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hankstafers, metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Hey, what's up, WFO Universe? It's Kathy Fisher. Join me along with Joe Castello every Sunday morning on Motor Trend for Performance TV. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. We've got Phil Burgess and Matt Hartford coming up, but right now I want to tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. We tell you all the time, drive a dragster, drive a car, get the experience, understand why the racers are so hooked on NHRA drag racing. It's hard to do, though. Whose car, whose equipment, how do you do that? How does that work? And I admit it's a great challenge. Well, Frank Hawley and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School have created a program called the Dragster Adventure, which offers you the opportunity to drive a big block-powered rear-engine Super Comp style dragster. 130 in the quarter mile, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. You're doing a burnout. You're staging. You get to hang out with Frank. You get a half-track and 2 full-track passes, and you can even do side-by-side racing. This is great for clubs, great for bachelor parties, great for corporate endeavors, team-building experiences. It's great stuff. Go to the web. Go to frankhawley.com. Look under the tab that says Dragster Adventure. This makes a great gift. The holidays are coming. It is not too soon to start thinking about such things. Give them a call, 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. There's a couple of seats remaining. And if you already know how to drive a dragster, you're out there bracket racing, you want to upgrade your license, you can do that at Frank Hawley's as well. Go to frankhawley.com or give them a call, 866-480-7223. All right, next up, joining us now, he is the Pro Stock winner out there at the Magic Dry NHRA Northwest Nationals. Huge weekend to pick up the win because he's on the cover of NHRA National Dragster, Matt Hartford. Matt, congratulations.
Joe, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me on WFO. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Isn't it better when you win your way on, though?
Well, when they put you on the cover of National Dragster, I was told there's some sort of jinx, and I think we proved that wrong. So the fact that we won and you're calling me to have a chat, that's always good.
Yes, it is always good. It is great. But to win when you're on the cover of National Dragster, see, I'd never heard that there's a jinx. I know about the Sports Illustrated jinx, and I know about the Madden football jinx. There's certain jinxes like that. I didn't realize that we had one for NHRA National Dragster. But what a great cover. What a great cover. It's like it's you, it's your mug, there's a filter. It looks really good to go out. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are like, all right, Pro Stock guy, we don't know about Matt Hartford. Who's this Matt Hartford? And Matt Hartford goes out and wins the race. That's great timing.
Yeah, it was, we had a really great Western swing, to be honest with you. We started off really strong in Denver. We qualified well. Lost in the finals to Greg Anderson in Denver, and that was just a good race. I mean, to look back and say, should we have won that or not? Not really. I mean, Greg made a great run in Denver. We made a great run in Denver, and Greg he got the win light. And, then we move on to Sonoma. We had a lot of momentum going into Sonoma. We qualified well, and unfortunately, the car got out of the groove at the hit, and I wasn't able to get it back into the center of the groove. And as we all know, I collected some cones and some damage to the car, and lost some points and lost first round in Sonoma, which was heartbreaking to us. And like Eddie Granacci always tells me, it's one run away, it's one pull away. Just all it's going to take is one run, and your attitude will change. And so we go to Seattle and spend a lot of time fixing all the damage from Sonoma, and we didn't qualify well. We were pretty distraught by Saturday night. We ended up 9th, and to qualify 9th is not a good thing in pro stock. You know that you're coming out and you're going to not have lane choice, and Seattle's one of them tracks where lane choice can be so critical that and then they have to run the a former world champion and the points leader Bo Butner round 1. It was we weren't looking forward to Sunday on Saturday night. We knew we had a rough day ahead of us.
One thing that's cool, and I want to let the audience behind the scenes a little bit, Matt. You've been letting me do some stuff on your car to kind of bring people behind the scenes in the world of pro stock. I know most of the WFO radio listeners have certainly seen that. And so I get to know the team real well, right? I get to see what's going on and the hands-on.
Absolutely.
So I encountered Matt this week, like first thing when I kind of pull up to say what's up, he's wrapping the car, right, fixing the damage from the blocks out in Sonoma. That was a huge moment, like racing gods, cosmic forces, whatever you want to say, because I don't want to say I can't characterize how close it was to losing the car. Maybe you will, but it looked like a pretty wild run, and if that had gone a little bit differently, we're talking a totally different season. That was a fork in the road moment for the season.
Yeah, we came out of Sonoma and actually were pretty happy that the car had minimal damage and that it was able to continue to go on to Seattle. It could have been devastating. It could have been life-threatening. To just take out the cones and get sideways is one thing, but the car was on the verge of being upside down into a wall. And that really falls back onto the driver. That's something I needed to have got it collected up sooner and got it back into the groove, which I didn't. And, right, wrong, or other, you look back and say someone must have been looking down on us. And, Craig's always at the track, always gives me a prayer before I get in the car and wishes us a safe run. And at some level you have to look at him and say, he's making sure that we're all safe, and that's important. When you get in these cars, you just don't know if it's your last run.
Yeah, well, and you were in the race, and you were trying to win the race, and you're leading the race, and you're staying with it, and all those different pressures are fighting against one another. And it just, I wanted to go back to that moment because as I rolled up here in Seattle, you're figuring out how to wrap the front end, right? You got a torch out, you got your razor blade out. Like people think, like, what's Hartford do? He's doing everything. He's cutting the wrap and like trying to make it look as nice as is possible. You're a little, I don't know if you went to art school at all, but whatever training you have, you had to use it.
Well, we were pretty confident that we needed to have the car looking pretty for the winter circle pictures, so we had to make the wrap look decent. And and hats off to my brother, Adam. He works on our team. He spent all day Thursday doing nothing but carbon fiber work on the front end. The whole corner of the car needed to be repaired, front and rear. Inside and outside, and did a phenomenal job. And my wrap kind of makes his work not look very good. The wrap doesn't look good compared to the work underneath. But it was, the car got fixed, and we got our golf cart fixed, and we knocked the rods and piston out of the golf cart in Sonoma, which was another part of that part of the Western swing that we didn't need to happen. But we built a motor on Thursday for the golf cart, and good old Blue is running again, and it was it made for a good day on Sunday.
You blew up the golf cart. That's how you know it's a tough weekend, when you put a window in the block on the golf cart. But all right, let's get into the races. Okay, Bo Butner, you mentioned him. That is a tough draw. He is the points leader. He's been having a great season, in many ways been very charmed this season, and you got to go up against Bo. That is a tough race. We were going to select that potentially as our marquee matchup for first round of Pro Stock, because just looking at it, 8 and 9, top to bottom, that is a brutal race, and you came out on top. You left first, and you outran him. 56-2 to a 56-8, and that's a great way to start the day and sets up that round 2 matchup against the number 1 qualifier, Jeg Coughlin. As you said, you start 9th, you lose lane choice, you got to run 8th, and then you get number 1 second round. That's exactly how it worked out.
Well, Eddie and I talked about it, and honestly, at dinner on Saturday night, the whole team, Chris Ingleton, Adam, my wife Amber, and Eddie and I, we were all sitting talking about kind of what our thought was moving into Sunday, knowing we had to run Bo, and Bo is as hard a draw as anybody out there. Bo is always had a lot of luck on his side, and he's a very skilled driver, and he has a lot of power under his hood. And so, to go up there and just say we're going to, even though we don't have lane choice and we're first pair out, most teams say you got to pull back a little bit. You got to back down because you have to get down. And that is true. And first pair out, you'll see first pair, a lot of times one car will have problems. Well, we didn't approach it that way. We approached it as we've got to go up there, we've got to do our best on the tree, but we've got to outrun them, and we've got to try to get lane choice, because second-round lane choice is going to be so critical. Second and third-round lane choice in Seattle with the sun on the track becomes just it's part of your strategy whether or not you can have a chance to win. And we went 56 in that lane against Bo's 56. And, we were low for the session out of the right lane, and I think we went 981 and 60 foot, and the second best car was maybe 995 out of the right lane. So we crushed it in that lane, and it's lucky that we did, because that gave us lane choice against Jaggy going into round two. And so the first round, the marquee matchup, as you and Hannah had called it, that to me it was. That was that set the tone for the whole day to move on up against Jag.
You go up against Jag. Jag goes 0.33, you're 0.40, so you're right there with him. And leaving the starting line, probably, and we've said this for 100 years in pro stock, right? But never been more important than right now, when you've got all the top cars separated by, a 100th or so. Jag doesn't get down the racetrack. That is an issue. But you do. It's 57-8 and on to the semis.
Yeah, and I stood down there watching the broadcast on the TV, the Fox broadcast, and I was watching, the Kramer-Jason pairing, and Kramer had lane choice in the second round against Jason, and Jason, as you know, shook as well. And Kramer went on, but I believe he went 56 and change, so he ended up with lane choice, which was, at that time, we knew that we had our work cut out for us, and because Kramer it's another KB car, and Mikey Heiner tuning that car is just... he's not shy. He's going to go up there and try to rip the throat out of it every time. And Derek, I think Derek right now has probably got to be rated as one of the best levers in the class, and not taking anything away from Jag or Erica. But Derek he's done such a phenomenal job in the car that now we're in a position, again, how do we take them lightly? We don't have lane choice. We've got somebody that we know probably won't pull back, and we got a guy that we know can leave the starting line as good as anybody. And we didn't pull back as much as we should have. We went up there kind of with a similar mentality as round one. We've got to go for it. Let's try to make a run. And we shook. I was 0-10 on the tree. Derek was 20 something. Which I was really happy to leave on him. That doesn't happen very often. And just to I let the clutch out, and that thing went into massive tire shake, and somehow I got it into second gear, and on and off the throttle a few times. And my next thought was, I don't see him, therefore I've got to get to the finish line, and I have to do it without burning the clutch out of the car. And don't get me wrong, a Bonifani clutch is probably as robust as anything out there. But if you just mash the throttle and try to go down through there and it starts slipping the clutch, you're going to legitimately throw a $15,000 unit in the trash can and not have any parts to work with other than your backup parts. So that became the forefront of my third round, was get it in gear and try not to ruin the clutch and try to get to the finish line first.
Yeah, but you did that in like tenths of a second. You got down there 7.551, 198. You had an 0.10 reaction time. He was 0.26. But that's what stood out in my mind. Pro stock racers, it doesn't happen that often. So it's got to catch you off guard when you realize, I have to get back on it and beat this guy to the finish, and what they would call a pedal race or a throttle race on the Top Fuel side of the world. It's more rare in pro stock. It happens, a couple of times a season. You were very quick at it. Is that something you've ever practiced or thought about? Like, how would I do this if it was situational?
I've thought about it 100 times, because you have to be as prepared for anything that can happen, and it's to actually go out there and practice, absolutely not. I've been in those positions in the past where that's had to happen, but that in Seattle, it definitely. I don't want to say I was ready for it, but I also knew that we didn't have lane choice. We had our car loaded up pretty good, and the track conditions were not favorable for us in the right lane. So it wasn't like I was sitting there expecting it, but the minute that it happened or the second that it happened, I was ready for it. It was instinctual that you want to win, and you're just, whatever you do not cross the center line, do not hit the wall, and certainly don't hurt the car. And luckily, we were able to take the win light. I got out of the car, and the guys at the safety safari said, 755, what do you think of that? I said, that is the greatest number I've heard today. And he looked at me, and I said, yeah, because there was a win light in my lane. I don't care about that number. And he just started laughing, and it was... I talked to Eddie Granacci, my crew chief, this morning, even on the way in, and we were reminiscing about that run. And I asked him, I said, "What did you think when you seen that the car was shaking and I was off the throttle and back on?" He says, "I took my headset off and I was just listening to the clutch."
There it is.
Because he can hear it.
And we did a piece on the clutch a couple of weeks ago. For people who want to go to NHRA's YouTube page, you could see exactly what we were talking about and what Matt was trying to destroy. Save.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all Eddie could say. He says, I was just listening to the tone of the engine to see if it had enough clutch on it to get to the other end. And if it didn't, he says, I knew we had our work. We had a hard in between rounds.
So it sets up the final round, the rematch. You and Greg, going back to the Dodge Mile High Nationals, you made the final round. Greg had not won a race since a year previous. He goes out there, gets the win. And now here we are 2 races later, a shot at redemption, a shot at rematch, a shot to go again and turn the momentum in your favor. And just talk a little bit about your pre-race prep. You and the team, Eddie, the guys, getting ready for GA second time around.
Well, that turns into a whole cluster, so to speak. We're a small team. We don't have 20 people working on our car. There's just, as there's Eddie and myself and Chris and Adam and my wife Amber. Now normally Chief's there, but Chief had some business commitments and we missed him this weekend. We wish he would have been there with us, but so we were short one person on a small team to begin with, and we pushed the car back into the pits, as we're backing into our pit stall next to the trailer, and the NHRA guy said, all right, 3:39, cars fire up to roll in the water. And I yell out, what time is it? And KI says 3:01. So that means we had 38 minutes to get the car in the air, service everything, make the decisions, try to make the correct decisions, build you build a transmission. You know the time that it takes to build a transmission.
First thing I'm thinking about, it has yet to make the air. The next video that we're putting out, it's me building a transmission with Matt. And, the video lasts like 40 minutes. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, how on earth do you do this in a pressure situation? Even if you know what you're doing, is there enough time to do it? And so here you are, you guys are doing that, selecting your gear ratios, etc., doing the clutch service, etc., whatever you had to do. And what'd you say, 38 minutes you've got?
Well, 38 minutes is how long we had until I had to hit the starter button, up on the starting line. So legitimately, we had 30 minutes at the most to get the car up in the air, get the wheels and tires off, get the drive shaft out, get the transmission out, get the bell housing off, the clutch out, service the clutch, take the transmission apart, change the gear ratios. We selected a different set of wheels and tires. We had to get them blown up and rolled out. I had to service the motor, had to tune the engine, and then that's just getting through the service. Now we had to make the right decisions on what to put in the clutch and what gear ratios to put in the transmission, which tire to run, what to change on the tune-up for the different conditions. And so it was and then get the engine chilled down, make sure we get everything as cold as we can. And we rolled up there right at the same time that Greg did, and that's a feather in the cap to my team. They work really well under pressure. They didn't make any mistakes, and it was definitely it was fun is the best way to put it. And so we roll up there, And literally, as we get up there, I went over and I shook Greg's hand, wished him the best of luck and be safe. And we both jumped in the car. And if you watch the video, you'll notice that Greg's car fires and he starts rolling up. And this is something that no one knows but my team, and I'm going to tell you first. I hit the starter button and the car wouldn't spin over, and I hit it again, and then it cranked over and it did fire. So first thing I'm thinking is we got a problem because the battery is not. We have an issue with the battery, and I just watched Jeg go through this in Sonoma.
Right
now, we run a different battery than he does, but we've not had any issues. And so I do the burnout. I put it completely out of my mind, and I do the burnout, and I back up, and we get ready to go. And Eddie comes on the radio, and he says, "Come on, let's get this guy." And I just, I rolled in first. He followed me right in, and I let the clutch go. And when I pulled second gear, I didn't see his front end, and I thought we got a chance. And we, as we went through the finish line, I got the chutes out, and they were screaming on my radio. And when the screaming stopped, I keyed my radio, and I said, "Based on the screaming, I'm assuming we won." And Eddie's like, "Yes, we won." And it was a great feeling.
That is tremendous. Yeah, you had a little heart attack moment right there at the fire up. But win the race, and Eddie has had great success, and now you've won 2 races on the Mellow Yellow Series Tour, and I can't help but think about the struggles early on to get this thing going, to put the team together, to get the guys together, to go out and race a couple of races. The 18-race schedule is the only reason you're running all 18 is because you can do it, right? It's more accessible to you. This is your success is a story of some of the changes in the category that they have made to make it a little more accessible to the guy who has to work every day.
Well, it is, and I'm sitting at my desk at Total Seal right now, and a lot of the teams they're probably, I'm sure there's teams out right now that are either testing or they're definitely in the engine shop working on their engines, or they're working on the car somewhere at the car shop. But my team is, I was back here 6 a.m. Monday morning at Total Seal working. Eddie was back in Philly working. Adam was back in Pennsylvania working. KI was back at CIP1 in Vancouver working. We all have day jobs. And if it wasn't for companies like Total Seal that, obviously support me not only at work here but on the racetrack, and Rottler in Seattle, they step up and help me financially in Seattle, and Larry at the Hose Connection when we go to Dallas and Vegas, he steps up and helps, and Jason Curry and all of these people. Rob back in Pennsylvania is a great friend of Eddie's. He helps us, when we're back on the East Coast. And, of course, Kenny Koretsky has been with us forever. And that's all these people pull together and let us get to these 18 races because we can't fund it on our own. We don't have the funding. We go to Chicago, Indicom Electric's on our car. We've got people at every race, not every race, but a lot of the races around the country that becomes their home track that come and support us and help us. And the 18-race schedule makes it to where we can run the entire schedule because there's no way we could afford 24 races, not only financially, but time. So this was a great decision by NHRA to shorten the schedule. I personally think they need to do it with Top Fuel and Funny Car as well. Those fields have been short most of the year, and it worked for Pro Stock. Why wouldn't it work for them?
That's an interesting angle. I agree it might be easier, but we'd have to do it in a certain way that, you can't tell all the fans you're all getting 6 weeks less. I think they would have a problem with that. But hey, I'm open for conversation, and there's got to be a way to do it. There's a way to solve this problem. It's certainly working in Pro Stock. You are 4th in the points. You're 136 out of the lead. Not bad, all things considered. And here we go to Brainerd. We're going to Indy. We got the countdown. So everything coming up is a big, big deal. Where do you feel your team is in terms of competition with everybody else? Do you feel like you have a shot at the championship? Is this win coming at just the right time to give everybody confidence to think, you know what, over the 6-race championship run, maybe even Indy, you guys have got what it takes?
Well, let's take Sonoma kind of out of the picture because I feel that we would have went deep into the rounds in Sonoma. Had I not got out of shape, we had Chris covered. I lost the race, and obviously Chris won on the box score, and him and I have, that's been a flip-flop before because he's done that for me. He's crossed the center line and given a race back to me in the past. But I was, 4.5, 500s ahead of him. So we were probably winning first round in Sonoma. And had we won first round in Sonoma, I felt that we could go deep into the rounds. But in the last 3 weeks, I've been to 2 finals and won 1 race. It's a lot of momentum.
And people don't really realize that this is a sport of momentum. We just did it, so we can do it again.
Yeah, so we're going into Brainerd with confidence. I'm not sure that when we roll up there for first round, whether we're qualified first or 16th, I'm not sure that the team in the other lane is going to be thinking, "Oh, this is a pretty easy round to win." You know, we've proven ourselves this year. We've been to 4 finals. We've had some first round losses, and a couple of them have definitely been on the driver. Nothing more, nothing less. And you know, we just need to make less mistakes than we've made in the past. And I think that we can win more races this year. I think we have the power to do it. Elite has provided us with a great engine program. I think we have the car that's very capable. Jerry Haas builds an incredible car that's good. It's good on all types of track conditions. It's got a huge tuning window, and that allows us to get through some of these conditions where other cars may shake, or, and we've worked really hard on our program this year, and we've focused on not spending money, but just putting a lot of effort into fine-tuning what we have.
Well, it is definitely working, and you brought home the Wally, and that's what matters the most. Matt, congratulations. Fun watching the racing. Obviously, you and Greg battling it out over the course of the Western Swing, but the biggest battles are yet to come. Thank you for coming on WFO Radio NHRA Nitro podcast, sharing the behind-the-scenes details of your victory. Of course, Brainerd is next. I appreciate you coming on the show. And the fact you're on the cover of NHRA National Dragster, which, by the way, WFO Radio listeners, Matt has autographed a couple, and I have them to give away. So I will see how we can put those to use here on the show.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate all the time and effort that you put into not only to your radio show, but at the track. I mean, the announcing in the booth, you do a phenomenal job. And I think what we're doing as far as on the social media side, getting you to get behind the scenes, whether it's building a clutch, changing a valve spring, building a transmission, hell, it might even be warming up the car at one of these races. We'll have to wait and see. But it's I think it's important that the fans get to see what's really going on behind the scenes, because watching it on TV or just seeing it from the stands, and if that's the only thing that you see, I don't think that's enough. The fans need to be more involved, and we need to allow them to have the access to be more involved. And that relies on us as the teams to allow that to happen.
Well, exactly. And I'm always surprised. Like, are you sure you should be showing me this? Like, behind the scenes when we do these pieces, and the one where the transmission should come out in between Seattle and Brainerd. But I'm always like, are you sure, Matt? Like, is somebody going to get mad? Is Elite going to get mad? You're like, no, man, we're good. We got to show the fans this so they understand what's going on and how cool it is, and become more interested. And I think it's working, certainly from the feedback we have gotten on these social media pieces. And I definitely agree that the WFO audience would love to see me warm up a car. I think that's a good idea. I support it.
There we go. I like it.
Yes. Not because I would have a good time. You understand that this is all work to me, right? I'm going to work.
Absolutely. This is a work-related job function that you'd have to perform.
Tasks. Got to do the tasks, you know what I mean? Warm up a pro stock car, right, tasks. But hey, I'll do it. I'm a dutiful worker. I'm a hard worker. I will show up to work, and I will do the job. That's what I do. No complaining, none of that stuff. Matt, congratulations to you and the team. Small team, hard work, celebrate big. Great job. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Hartford with us here on WFO Radio Podcast. And really cool to see him go out there and get the win and mix it up, because I consider him, Bo Butner is the sportsman racer who went pro stock racing and won a championship. Matt Hartford is the sport compact racer that went pro stock racing and is giving it a ride. It just goes to show you, if you assemble a team and hire the right people and buy the right parts and pieces, you can contend. Isn't that what people want to see? I think that's what people want to see, and I'm very excited about the remainder of the year. Pro stock, who's going to win it? I have no idea. We have got Phil Burgess, editor of NHRA National Dragster, going to bring us home, and then I'll just tell you some stories from the weekend, my time. Right now, though, I want to tell you about the folks at HusseyPerformance.net. Quality copper head gaskets. David Allen and the team, they can make any bore, any size, any thickness. The tunability, second to none. The customization, second to none. And oh, by the way, on the cars of champions. Everything is made in America. They're located in Pennsylvania, and you should give them a call. If you build engines, if you work with copper head gaskets, why not try Hussey Performance? They are already battle-tested and proven, and their customer service is second to none. Give David a call, 724-318-8292. That's 724-318-8292. He personally inspects every gasket that leaves that place. 724-318-8292. That's HusseyPerformance.net. We'll be back with Phil Burgess from NHRA National Dragster after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one. Honest. Listen.
The dog days of summer, and boy, is it hot. But let me tell you, I love starting every day off with a little Rodax coffee and grills.com. That's right, Marvin Rodak and his gourmet coffee right from Texas. The WFO radio blend, the Bang the Blower. Over 40 single original coffees to choose from that are all roasted fresh per your order. They've got the Kopi Luwak, the exotics. They represent the top 5% of coffee grown throughout the world. He's been doing it since 1976, and he is sitting there right next to the phone right now waiting for your call. 817-924-6821. I love it. It's great stuff. You should definitely give it a try. And if you're grilling on the weekends, try some A26 award-winning spice rub. Try some of the Habanero Endorphin Booster hot sauce and the other 3 great blends of hot sauce Marvin's got. He's got coffee wood. He's got recipes and tips for grilling. Check out the website, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. But most importantly, give him a call, 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com. Order it today. All natural product made out of coconuts, 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA fan, cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
If you're looking for extra horsepower, check out WilsonManifolds.com, the leader in intake manifold and nitrous oxide development. They've set records and won championships in just about every series in professional racing. Sprint Cup, Nationwide, Camping World Truck Series, NHRA Pro Stock, right up to the Nitro classes. If you're looking for extra horsepower, check out the leader in intake and nitrous development at WilsonManifolds.com.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job. I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Final segment, NHRA Nitro, my time after Phil Burgess. But right now, I got to tell you about Hengstifer's Metalworking Lubricants. Whatever your needs, they have the best available products to improve your metalworking processes. It all started in 1937, and now Hengstifer's is on the side of many top race cars out there, including John Force Racing and Don Schumacher Racing. I can't help but think about the Sackman family as well, doing great things as Matt and Zach Sackman are kind of coming up the line, trying to be the next drivers to make it to the Top Fuel ranks. Hengstifer's products offer consistent, reliable performance at the best available value. Go to their website, Hengstefers.com, or give them a call, 800-433-LUBE. That is 800-433-LUBE. Lower production cost, reduce waste, extend tool life, improve surface quality, all things that can help you out if you use Hengstefers. Go to Hengstefers.com and tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. All right, it's time for our final guest. Joining us now, bringing out the big dogs for the Force 150 moment, Phil Burgess, editor of NHRA National Dragster, on the phone line. Phil, welcome back to WFO Radio Podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me back on.
One thing that I thought was super cool was that you were at John Force's first victory. It's one of the things that made me want to have you on. And to be able to say that you saw the first, you saw 150, bookending a career as a young man, what do you remember from the first one?
Yeah, that was amazing. It was in Montreal. I remember that it was Force's 10th final round, and And we went there, and I was going back. I had to review some of my notes, but he had Austin Coyle, obviously, by then. The track, they just put down a brand-new concrete starting pad, and everybody was having problems with it except for those guys. And that was where, Coyle really showed his stuff. And they went there. They had low qualified number one, had low ET, and then they got to the final. And I remember talking to Coyle there, and, Force was, revved up as Force always is, and he told Force, don't think about this being, for your first win. Think that you're in your lane. You're at Englishtown during a match race. That's all you need to think about. And, Force kept his head, left with McCulloch and took the win. But that was the thing, that somebody spray painted up the big sign that said just married, got rid of their bridesmaid tag, and a little impromptu celebration on the starting line. But as Force would tell you, that was a race where there was no TV at. He went down there at the top end looking for the TV, looking for Steve Evans, and there was nobody there. We didn't do TV from Montreal in those years. So a lot of people weren't there to witness it, but I'm proud to say I was there for that one, and I was there for 150th. So I'm sure there are more to come from him, but to have those two, have the privilege to see those two, that's pretty exciting for me.
It is so exciting. The 150th win capped with the fence climb, the fall over the fence. Just so many great John Force-style moments, though. But now that he's gotten it, right, I can't help but compare this to Richard Petty's 200th victory. If Richard Petty had gotten 199, he would still be, the greatest icon of NASCAR history, but it just wouldn't be as round and as nice in our NHRA community. John Force may go on to win 160. It might be 165. Who knows? But that 150 had to be surpassed just for the balance of the numerology, and he got it.
Right, yeah, absolutely. We like those nice round numbers in our stats, but I think more than anything for John needed it for John. I mean, he hadn't won since Denver last year, or more than a calendar year. And, I think it was eating at him a little bit. We talked to him in there in the media center. You were there, and he said it had been the monkey on his back. And now that it's off, what's he going to do? Does he have 17 championships in him? With Austin Prock winning the same day, another monkey off his back. Are those guys going to be so unburdened by this that, now they're going to go on a tear? We'll see.
We will see. And they have a good car, clearly, and getting better. Like, they worked on John. They worked on his position in the car. They changed his brake. They had to switch him from the pull brake to the push brake. He revealed that out in Sonoma. We've been learning a lot. His special glasses, he mentioned. They've been working on John and the car, and obviously the results are there because they had a great hot rod. The whole Western Swing, they had a really good car, but culminating with this great victory. And throughout race day, going through Robert, that's where you knew this could be the day.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Robert's been kind of his Achilles heel for a long time, and for him to get past Robert, and they didn't have an easy route the whole way, and even get to the final, you just, kind of like, man, is this really going to be the one? Is he finally going to get it done? And, to see him turn on that win light, and then know that Austin was right behind him. We knew there was something really special happening.
Celebrating out there, watching John celebrate Austin, and just being out there, being happy. I couldn't help but think, we don't want to overstate things either, but I don't know that you can overstate what John Force has meant to the sport of NHRA drag racing. You've been there. I don't want to say the whole time, Phil, because you're not that old, but, Garlitz, those days, Garlitz, Coletta, Muldowney, Snake, those days. Then John Force arrives, and the sport does pop. It does grow. It becomes now, some could say it had to do with the nation's economy. Some could say that has to do with cable television, the natural flow of, technology and growth of the way things are. That having been said, without his over-the-top, intense, dramatic, some would say crazy personality, would people have tuned in the way that they did?
No, I don't think so. I think, John's kind of our everyman, for as well off as he is now with everything, the teams and the beautiful home and everything like that. I mean, we remember he came from a trailer park, and he was the quarterback on his football team, high school football team, that didn't win for 2 seasons. He had polio, truck driver, all these things that, this, Horatio Alger type story, but he's still a man of the people. You referenced it. He climbed over the fence there, almost hurt himself climbing over the fence in Seattle to go up there and share with the fans. And I've seen him do that before there. In the 90s, I remember him doing the same thing on a much lower fence, catching his arm restraint in the fence, going face down, getting up and celebrating with the people. He's a man of the people for all of his success, all of the things that he's done, what he's done for the sport popularity-wise, TV rating-wise, marketing-wise, the people who he's made help make superstars, obviously his daughters, Tony Pedregon, Eric Medlin, star in the making. He's done so much for the sport that we're so blessed to have him with us rather than, some other motorsport.
The final round opponent, Ron Capps, couldn't be better in that. Listening to Brian's call on Fox Sports, the two winningest drivers in funny car history right here. Capps, a champion, Force, a 16-time champion. To see them square off, nobody wants it to be them that the milestone happens against. No matter what it is, nobody wants to be the milestone. But when it happens, the fact that it came against, one of the all-time greats, if not the second greatest of all time, Ron Capps, I think that makes it even a bigger deal.
Oh, absolutely. Both of his last two wins, 149 and 150, were against Capps. And to have that, he didn't have a gimme. We know Capps' car was exceptionally good this weekend, too. And, that car is always a threat to win it. If he'd have been up against some, car that was not as well financed, maybe someone that lucked their way to the final and, a win was guaranteed, that, might have been a little different thing. But knowing it was against Capps, the guy who's, if anybody's come close to having his number, it's Ron. I mean, he's definitely gotten into Force's head, and their head-to-heads were pretty close. And so for him to take that win over Ron, I think probably meant as much to him as anything, certainly more than if he'd have beat against probably almost anybody else.
Looking at the points, Robert Hight leading, John Force second, 186 back. I can't help but think about something Robert told us a week ago about the 40-point swings. When you beat somebody, it's really a 40-point swing because they don't gain 20 and you do. Well, Robert beat John several times earlier this year during his dominance period, whereas John was kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but searching for stuff, and we certainly have covered that. My point is, John Force has got a really good car and a mindset where he seems like he's got nothing to lose contending for this championship this year. When you try to handicap funny car, which is very challenging no matter what or when, but where do you put John Force in this mix?
You got to see. I mean, you definitely can never count the guy out. We know what Brian Karate can do. We saw that last year with Courtney, and what he's done with Antron before that with the Dragster. And Force just has that fire in his belly. He wants to still prove he's relevant. Prove that he can still win the race. I don't know that he's my favorite right now. You kind of got to look to Robert. I think J.R. Todd is the defending champ and has a really, really good car. Sean Langdon, Capps, Hagan. It's going to be tough. I mean, I don't put John at the top, but he's probably in my top three.
See, and that is interesting. The fact that this guy is a 70-year-old man, he's got this intense competitor living within him, and, through some ups and downs, now on an upswing, car's going straight, it's going down the track, he's leaving on time. It's going to be very interesting to see, and I know a lot of the diehard old-school fans are going to be pulling for him. But this was kind of a bookend weekend, right? John Force 150, Austin Prock won. The kid that was selected as, maybe, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but maybe as the next guy after John Force in a funny car, right? Goes out there.
He certainly got the experience.
Milestone victory for Austin Prock. What did you think of his performance?
I thought that was, finally time for Austin Prock to have his moment. All year long we've seen him, probably be the best starting line driver out there, learning the other parts of car control. Figuring things out. The car wasn't there underneath him. Still not probably where it needs to be. I think Mike Green has turned that ship around. Probably, knows there's probably still another couple hundreds in that car, maybe even more. But the kid has done his job. He was looking. To be honest, Jordan Vandegrift had kind of outshined him this year as far as round wins and things like that. Even though Austin was running more races. But I think that script might have been flipped a little bit right now. He's your favorite for the the Rookie of the Year thing. And, if John or somebody else gets out of that funny car, I can see Austin picking right up and starting his own surge for 150.
Absolutely. Although that is an impossible number these days. And just the way it stands out above more than double the next closest racer, pretty amazing stuff for John Force in terms of funny car. But since we got you on the line, Phil, got to ask you, let's go the full circuit with the Mellow Yellow Series, right? You got Austin Prock wins, you got John Force wins, and Matt Hartford denies Greg Anderson the Western Swing sweep. But he is on the cover of NHRA National Dragster, so if there is any discussion about, is there a jinx or anything, which Matt said he had heard that there was, I had never heard that. I always thought it was good luck to be on NHRA National Dragster, but that has been solidified now. We now know it is good luck.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there have been guys who have looked at that before and thought, well, we put them on the cover and they didn't win again for a while, but I don't. It's like the Sports Illustrated jinx. Who knows if that was really true or not? But yeah, we had Matt on the cover there. He was super thrilled to be on there. Great story in there by our senior editor Kevin McKenna, and Matt just was on it this weekend. We knew he was due for another win, and I honestly didn't think he was going to get it done against Greg. He was 0-10 against Greg lifetime, but he had that great quote in the press room that said, "I told Greg that he was like a slot machine. I kept pulling his handle. Eventually, he was going to pay off." And this was a big jackpot for Matt Hartford.
So true. And that was fun being in the media center. After it's all over, who's in there? Phil Burgess is in there, a couple of members of the media, and kind of hearing those racers debrief on this great milestone victory. I know you are super busy, Phil. I appreciate you weighing in. Anything else stick out in your mind on this weekend? And even more importantly, take it a little bigger with the Western Swing as we enter the critical portion of the season now. Brainerd, it's a fun race, and then Indy and Countdown, where championships are decided and lives are changed through victory.
Yeah, I think these next two races are going to be pretty critical. Top Fuel is going to be the one to watch, really, with Billy Torrance. Can he get in there? Austin's win kind of took him off the hot seat. I think Terry McMillan is the guy right now that's looking over his shoulder at Billy, who will be running Brainerd and Indy both. Funny car, Cruz Pedregon didn't really do himself any favors. Fortunately for him, Tim Wilkerson also lost in the first round, but he's got a lot of ground to make up. It's going to be interesting. Brainerd. A lot of people tend to look past Brainerd to Indy just because Indy is Indy, but I think that's going to be a race a lot of eyes can be focused on, and a lot of what happens the rest of the season might shake out there.
We will find out. Great one to be at. I'm happy you were there. NHRA National Dragster, what are you working on as you get to this portion of the season? So what can we expect?
Well, this issue we've had, in the works for a while. We have a John Force 150th win retrospective in the not the issue that's leaving here tomorrow, but the next issue after that. Huge salute to the 65th annual U.S. Nationals with a lot of stats. And we call our book of lists. Every piece of trivia that you could want to know about Indy is going to be in that issue. So we're working on all that, and then gearing up for the playoffs. What happens after Indy?
Playoffs, absolutely. I am fired up about it. The season is getting to crunch time, and a lot of teams hitting on all 8. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Phil, thank you very much for coming on WFO Radio Podcast. Greatly appreciate it. Milestone victory. I never have to say ever again, if John Force wins this race, it'll be his 150th win.
And John Force is probably happy not ever heard that again either.
Although I might get his guys on the next walking tour just for fun.
That'd be fun.
There you go. Phil, thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
Phil Burgess, editor of NHRA National Dragster, with us here on WFO Radio. And if you're not subscribed, we encourage you to subscribe to the show all the time. We are going to have another feed that we need you to subscribe to coming soon at some point in the future. Just kind of laying the land, getting everybody ready for that day that it all goes down. All right, that's going to do it. How about that? Gets us to the tail end of the show. My Time, brought to you by patreon.com/WFO Radio. Of course, appreciate all you Patreons as well. Here's my angle. This had to happen. It was going to happen at some point or not. So I'm happy that it did. As a fan of drag racing, as a supporter of drag racing, this is good for drag racing. I think about Ron Capps and team. Know those guys real well. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? I think it's a good thing that they're connected to this history. The number 2 guy. I think it's cool the way it went down with Austin Prock. And I see this as a genuinely and generally positive moment across the board. For me personally, it was very cool because I got to interview John a couple of times, one of which you heard, hopefully another one coming soon. But the best part, a couple of just great starting line interviews about the past days of Seattle at Pacific Raceways and how you would do a burnout and streakers would come out. They were ladies, of course. Streakers coming out onto the track. And he thought that Donor had put them up to it. And I asked Donor later on in the week, I was like, hey, was that because of you? Did you put them up to that? He's like, no, man, it was the 70s. That's how it was. It was crazy. And to think that this is where John Force gets win number 150. Austin Prock was cool. Matt Hartford was super cool. Everybody super cool. And I'm looking forward to Brainerd and the Lucas Oil Nationals and, of course, the NHRA Countdown. Oh, yes. Now, where does this put John in terms of drivers of all times? And I've been thinking about that. I think way up there. Richard Petty's 200 versus John Force's 150. But that's something we can talk about in the future. Again, the archive is loaded. We're going to do an Ignition show this week, and we're going to dive in a little bit more as we get ready for the Zoo and Brainerd next week. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Matt Hartford, Phil Burgess, Austin Prock, and John Force in the Media Center. Appreciate John for being so honest and forthcoming and truthful, and just love what he had to say. And we're going to debrief with John in the future about this big win, 150. Big thanks to Alan Reinhart and all of you listeners. WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO radio.
Oh, yeah.